Hi, in previous demos, I have been showing the functionality of the FlowPath in Triangle 5, and those are basic functionalities. That is to generate flow paths, save it, and view it. And now in this demo, I'd like to move up the food chain. That is discuss more on the equipment modules. So we go back to the FlowPath functionality or tool as we create. In previous examples, I've shown all the functionality and features, but now in this demo, let's go to an example like here. And I've alluded to this button here, which is the EM button. And in this demo, I'll get more into details on all the features surrounding it. So to get there, obviously, equipment modules need to be classified, which valves and all that belong to which to the equipment name, the states needs to be identified, and usually you'll find this in functional spec in the equipment module section, and it show you the valve states for each equipment module and where they are, what they are set to for each state. So if we go here, for example, we got a bunch of valves, and I've shown this before. You could, if a valve or equipment it belongs to equipment, you can right click and you just add EM. So what happens is on the top left here, you'll go through a spreadsheet and then you'll find that valve and and what EM that it's associated with. So you got this EM that's defined, and you notice that it's default state here. You can double click on it and you can see all the states that was predefined for it. You can go like that and you select OK and so forth. You can right click on it and then you could open this EM state table, which gives you a more detailed view. And you list out for this EM the valves that it controls, and these are the states that you can, let me see, when you double click on it, it will bring you to that location and highlight that. But before we go there, I like to show where all these are defined. So over here, even before that, so anytime you call out EM, it loads the information to memory, and this drop down will then populate, so it doesn't always go back to the spreadsheet and read the configured information. And for this EM, you'll show again similar to what's at the top left here, the states that was defined for it. So you can go to this EM in Excel, and let's go there to see how it's defined and created. So this is just a simple spreadsheet in Excel that when, for example, when you open up EM, it will open up this spreadsheet. You go through these defined table and then load it into memory. So at the top here, you got your states that's defined, the EM states. And for this case, you can see there are actually quite a bit, 30. And you can see those dates when you double click on it. So the last one is pump circulation, and that's the same case here, pump circulation, right? If you go back, so it loads it in and into memory, and then you use that to generate valve states when you call up upon it. So for example, what's useful about it, you can, this does the same thing. For example, you can right click, run EM state. What does feed look like? So you'll notice that when you call the feed state, valve 161, 162 is open. But even that, you can try to identify the CMs that this EM controls. So you click this button, it tells you that this CM is controlled by this EM, and basically valve 2, valve 11, 161 and 162 are open. So if you run it, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you can actually use it to test it out. So let's say we fill up the tank, this one, there we go, right? You can change state and see, okay, feed looks like this. Let's go to line drain. Oops, sorry. Sorry about that. That's a feature which I will let you know later on. I click the run button. Open EM state. Here we go. So if feed looks like that, line drain, for example. So when you click on it, it'll show you what's configured in that spreadsheet, and then from there you can say run CM state and see how it looks like. So basically, it opens all these up, right? Only 2 and valve 2 and 3 is closed. That's valve 2 and valve 3. The rest are open. So actually, rather than looking through a spreadsheet and try to visualize how it looks like, and for all the states, it's nice to be able to see it visually and even troubleshoot, okay, does it make sense that the valve states are like that, and how does it look like, right? So let's say, to give an example, let's say initially for feed, this is we know it's like 161, 162, 161. So feed is open. Let's say initially it's closed. You want it closed, so you can save it like this, save it, and then what you do is you ask it to regenerate the EM list, which I accidentally did before. So if you hit that, you basically remove the so it removes from memory its original state and upload that again. So you can say, okay, run EM state. See, now this is closed because we defined it closed. Let's say, suppose you are reviewing and you notice that, oh, wait a minute, feed, this valve is in the wrong state. So to change that, it's relatively easy. You open up the state table, and then you go to EM in Excel. It brings you there, and you know to do that, 161 should be open in the feed state. So you just like that, and notice that the name must match with how it's configured. How it's configured here. For example, you need to type in these either open or close. If you put anything else, when you can't find it, it just won't do anything. So it is important to make sure that the name in here matches with how it's configured. So now we set it correctly, we save it, and then we regenerate the list. So it's that easy, right? And this, in the process of doing a project at the beginning, it can be hashed out between the automation engineer and the process engineer what state should be, and the process engineer can then go and verify how it looks like. Run EM state. So it loads it in, and now this valve is open. Another functionality in here is when you go to EM state table, there may be cases where for example, you have a path and you want to find which state you should be selecting. So let's do that. Let's say you want to find a state where the flow path is actually like this. And maybe you want to drain it. You want to drain it through the drain. And then you're not quite sure what state you could pick. So what you could do when you go to, again, to get to here, you click on this right arrow. It goes to here, and you could say find EM state. But even before that, you get the CM state. Basically, what you want to do here is you want to pull what this CM states are up here, and it looks like that, right? And then say for these positions, find the, give me the state. So it's actually gravity drain. So to get this valve states in this EM, you need to command it to gravity drain. And you go play around with it in the sense that, well, I wonder what state, let me see, what state this would be. Oh, that's to locate it. You want this to open instead. And then when you say open, find me, is there such a state? Find EM state, tank rinse, right? And you could play around, you could close this, get EM state. Oh, open, let's see, no valid state. So if you have a combination here that it's not defined, you know it doesn't exist. Find EM state, get EM state, CM state, we did that. So this get EM state basically update existing CM that you configure into here. And from here, there are cases where you could set it up where you say, I want it to be this, but I really don't care. That's a don't care state. Give me something that matches this, but I don't care what state of this valve is. You could do that. Can go back. So identify CM, I explained that. Oh, clicking on this basically shows you where all the valves are. This run CM state will basically command these CMs to whatever state this is set to. This button here, get EM in Excel, basically goes to the Excel location where this EM is defined, and you can change it and modify it and save it, and you'll then next time when you load it in, you'll take the new definition. So this is something here which basically are part of the FS definition. What I've also added are there's sometimes you have notes, right? You can define the notes here. So let's open this up, for example, and then that'll go into the next functionality. So you could add that EM, you right click on it. If there's an existing EM, you can delete it or you can change it, right? And let's try to add it. So when you try to add, you do a pull down. These are all the EMs that are defined in this project. So we want to give an example of this. Hit OK. You'll find it in the spreadsheet because we know it exists. You load it into memory, and then this looks like, oh, because I need to do this, retry. Okay, so if that spreadsheet is in the middle of doing something, you just get stuck. It won't get stuck, you just hang there until you kind of release whatever you're doing. Okay, so it's there, it does the same thing, it shows you all the states. And one thing is you can view EM state, EM state table, open EM state table. So you notice that this button here, this well icon. So we know, for example, as you scroll through it, um, if you go to inlet open, and if you're viewing this and you don't know, and you go inlet open, you notice that this becomes available. You can click on it, and it tell you the comment. I could make this more robust by opening a separate, especially for those big long notes, separate notepad or something. I could have done that. So, but you know, when you go to a state, if there's something additional information, you'll show that the icon will show up. If not, you'll show like that. So there's a note here. So you could do that. So that is when this table is generated. If there are additional comments, you put it below the state, and whatever's in here will be is then displayed up here when someone select that state. So that's the other functionality. So you know most of it here now. So we go to here, and you want to, let's say, get all the equipment modules belonging to this area. Let's close it. Actually, let's just do this. When you add and change, what you could do is, we know this area is 76513, 76513. It's like you could do a search, and anything that's in there that starts with 76513, you automatically add to it. You load it up, you go to spreadsheet and load it up and add to it. So yeah, if you got to be careful in the sense that, oh, I guess it's there. If it's already there, no, it does not check. One of the functionality I could have done is to check what's already in the list, and if it's already in there, not to add it. But that check is not being done, so you can see it replicate here. Delete. So you could do that. So now you know all the EMs that's created for this graphic. If it's a complex equipment module, it may not have all the functionality. And this tool right now basically is very good at showing the states as far as complex controls. Obviously, you can't really get that from a table only, so you do need to know a little bit more about that. So let's say you have this. In general, you could, let's say, set everything to closed state, but for here membrane, you want to do bypass instead of close. So you could actually run all this rather than individually. I rarely do that because it's often not that's what you want to do. So you can show all that state, automatically update, show valve states. Okay, so you hit that. So it's all there, right? So when you hit that all there, and it should update automatically. Yeah, so by clicking on this, when you say show states, not only does it show all the states those valves should be at, you also run it. So instead of feed all close, we want to have this, we want to feed, and let's do that, and let's have this. That's how that looks like, right? And then you could do a whole bunch of stuff. So in theory, you could run if it's fully featured, you don't need to have complex control. You could set your EM states to whatever you want, and then just run it. You could run it, and then you automatically show you the flow path. That's it for now for this. In future version, what I'll show the additional feature, more detail to this, in the sense that I can open up a delta V phase, manually run through each step at a time. As I go through each step, I can automatically pull up what EM state should be and then generate the flow path, which is kind of nice because if you don't have that, you will probably have to simulate it and run it, and that can take a lot of time and effort to try to simulate a process by running actual phase. Okay, that's it. Thank you for viewing this demonstration. The next demo will show the integration of Delta V code against this flow path functionality. So look out for that. Thank you very much. Bye.